Welcome back. Today we will learn about the devastating situation that has Melinda Trask spiraling into complete panic and despair as she faces the terrifying reality of spending years behind bars at Statesville Prison. The former district attorney's world is crumbling around her, and her desperate attempts to help Sophia Choi have backfired spectacularly, leaving her drowning in regret and fury. The devastating moment of truth. Melinda's complete breakdown. The weight of her criminal actions has finally caught up with Melinda Trask, and the realization that she could be facing serious prison time has sent her into an absolute tailspin. As the walls close in around her, Melinda finds herself experiencing crushing waves of regret that consume her every waking moment. Her hands shake uncontrollably as she contemplates the devastating consequences of her decision to once again involve herself in an illegal adoption scheme. The former DA, who once sent criminals to prison with unwavering confidence, now finds herself on the other side of the law, desperately clinging to any hope of avoiding the same fate she once imposed on others. Melinda's emotional state has deteriorated rapidly as she realizes the full scope of what she's done. Her sleepless nights are filled with haunting visions of iron bars and the cold, unforgiving walls of Statesville Prison. The woman who once commanded respect in Salem's courtrooms now finds herself reduced to a trembling, anxiety-ridden shell of her former self. Every phone call sends her into a panic, every knock at the door makes her jump with terror, and every news report about legal proceedings fills her with overwhelming dread. The magnitude of her mistake weighs heavily on her shoulders like a crushing boulder that grows heavier with each passing hour. Sophia's elaborate deception. The Chicago fabrication unravels the intricate web of lies that Sophia Choi and Melinda carefully constructed is beginning to show dangerous cracks that threaten to expose their entire operation. Sophia's desperate claim that she gave birth to a baby girl in Chicago and immediately handed the child over to eager adoptive parents was always a risky gamble, but now it's becoming their ultimate downfall. The young woman's frantic attempts to maintain this elaborate facade are becoming increasingly difficult as Tate Black grows more suspicious and determined to investigate the inconsistencies in her story. Every detail of their carefully orchestrated plan is now under intense scrutiny. The supposed Chicago hospital records don't exist, the mythical adoptive parents are nowhere to be found, and the post office box solution that Melinda suggested is proving to be nothing more than a temporary bandage on a gaping wound. Sophia's nervous energy is palpable as she struggles to keep her story straight, constantly looking over her shoulder and jumping at shadows. The teenager who once seemed so confident in her decision is now plagued by constant anxiety and fear that their deception will be exposed at any moment. The psychological toll on Sophia is becoming increasingly evident as she struggles to maintain her composure while living this dangerous lie. Her mother, Amy Choi, remains blissfully unaware of the elaborate scheme happening right under her nose, but Sophia knows that discovery could happen at any time. The weight of deceiving everyone she cares about, combined with the knowledge that Melinda could face serious legal consequences, has created an unbearable burden that threatens to crush the young woman's spirit entirely. The heartbreaking reality, Tesoro's true identity. The most devastating aspect of this entire situation is the innocent baby boy caught in the middle of this dangerous game of deception. Little Tesoro, currently being lovingly cared for by Leo Stark and Javi Hernandez, has no idea that his entire existence has been built on a foundation of lies and illegal activities. The adorable infant, who has already begun forming precious bonds with his foster fathers, represents the human cost of Melinda and Sophia's reckless actions. Leo and Javi's growing attachment to Tesoro makes the situation even more heartbreaking, as they have no knowledge of the illegal circumstances surrounding his placement in their care. The couple has opened their hearts completely to this precious child, dreaming of adoption and building a loving family together. Their genuine love and dedication to Tesoro's well-being stands in stark contrast to the criminal conspiracy that brought him into their lives. The irony is not lost on anyone paying attention to this tragic situation. While two men are providing genuine love and care for this innocent baby, the people responsible for his placement are engaged in illegal activities that could tear apart multiple lives. The medical emergencies and potential need for biological parent information could serve as the catalyst that brings this entire house of cards crashing down. If Tesoro requires urgent medical attention that necessitates knowledge of his biological parents' medical history, Sophia and Melinda's carefully constructed lies will crumble instantly. The thought of this possibility fills Melinda with paralyzing terror, knowing that such a scenario would expose their crimes and likely result in immediate arrest and prosecution. Melinda's criminal history. A pattern of dangerous behavior. Melinda's current predicament becomes even more damning when viewed in the context of her previous illegal activities involving adoption schemes. Her participation in the horrific kidnapping and deception involving Eric Brady and Nicole Walker's baby Jude reveals a disturbing pattern of criminal behavior that cannot be ignored or forgiven. The former district attorney helped orchestrate one of the most heinous crimes imaginable, allowing grieving parents to believe their child was dead while facilitating his illegal adoption by Sloan Peterson. The psychological trauma inflicted on Nicole Walker, who was forced to endure the unbearable pain of believing her baby had died, represents just a fraction of the damage caused by Melinda's previous criminal activities. Eric Brady's devastation and the destruction of multiple relationships can be traced directly back to Melinda's willingness to participate in illegal adoption schemes. The fact that she somehow escaped serious consequences for these previous crimes has clearly given her a false sense of security that is now spectacularly backfiring. The parallels between her previous crimes and her current situation with Sophia and Tesoro are impossible to ignore. Once again, Melinda has chosen to prioritize her own interests over the well-being of innocent children and devastated families. Her complete lack of remorse for her previous actions and her willingness to repeat the same criminal behavior demonstrates a fundamental moral corruption that makes her current panic and regret feel like too little, too late. The mounting legal consequences. Statesville Prison awaits. The specter of Statesville Prison looms large over Melinda's every waking moment, filling her with a terror that penetrates to her very core. The cold, harsh reality of potentially spending years behind bars has shattered her previous confidence and reduced her to a trembling, desperate woman who will do anything to avoid her fate. Her legal expertise, which once served as her greatest strength, now torments her as she fully comprehends the severity of the charges she could face. The possibility of disbarment adds another layer of devastation to Melinda's already dire situation. Losing her law license would not only end her career but would also strip away the professional identity that has defined her for decades. The woman who once wielded the power of the law like a weapon now finds herself completely defenseless against the crushing weight of justice that threatens to destroy everything she has worked to build. Brady Black's intimate knowledge of Melinda's previous crimes makes him a particularly dangerous enemy in this situation. His fury over her role in the kidnapping of his brother's baby ensures that he will show no mercy when the truth about Tesoro's situation comes to light. The Black family's influence and determination to see justice served could prove to be the final nail in Melinda's coffin, sealing her fate once and for all. The explosive confrontation, Melinda's fury toward Sophia as the pressure mounts and the walls close in around them, the fragile alliance between Melinda and Sophia is beginning to show dangerous cracks that threaten to tear apart their partnership entirely. Melinda's growing realization that she has risked everything to help a manipulative teenager who may not fully appreciate the magnitude of the legal jeopardy she has created is fueling an explosive rage that threatens to consume her entirely. The former district attorney's famous temper is reaching a dangerous boiling point as she contemplates the possibility that Sophia's selfish decisions could cost her everything she has worked to achieve. The transformation of Melinda's attitude towards Sophia represents one of the most dramatic character developments in this unfolding saga. What began as maternal compassion and professional assistance has evolved into seething resentment and barely controlled fury. Melinda's growing awareness that she has been used and manipulated by someone young enough to be her daughter adds an additional layer of humiliation to her already devastating situation. Sophia's apparent inability to fully grasp the seriousness of the legal consequences they both face has become a constant source of frustration for Melinda. The teenager's youth and inexperience, which initially motivated Melinda's desire to help, now serve as constant reminders of the former DA's poor judgment and misplaced compassion. Every innocent question from Sophia about their legal strategy or the likelihood of getting caught sends Melinda into a fresh spiral of rage and regret. The inevitable collapse. When truth meets consequences, the carefully constructed facade that Melinda and Sophia have built is showing signs of imminent collapse under the weight of its own contradictions and the relentless pressure of ongoing investigations. Tate Black's determination to uncover the truth about his child, combined with Brady Black's suspicious nature and intimate knowledge of Melinda's criminal history, has created a perfect storm that threatens to expose their crimes at any moment. The emotional toll of maintaining their elaborate deception is becoming increasingly visible in both women's behavior and demeanor. Sophia's nervous energy and Melinda's barely controlled panic are beginning to attract unwanted attention from family members and friends who are starting to ask uncomfortable questions. The stress of living with such a dangerous secret is slowly destroying both women from the inside out, making mistakes and slip-ups increasingly likely. When the truth finally emerges, as it inevitably must, the consequences will be swift and devastating for everyone involved. Melinda's legal expertise tells her exactly what kind of charges she will face, and the knowledge that she could spend the best years of her remaining life behind bars fills her with a desperation that grows stronger with each passing day. The irony of her situation, a former prosecutor becoming a defendant, is not lost on her, and the humiliation of facing former colleagues in court as a criminal defendant adds another layer of torment to her already unbearable situation. The ultimate reckoning approaches with the inexorable force of a freight train, and Melinda Trask's world is about to be forever changed by the consequences of her criminal choices. Her tears, her panic, and her rage towards Sophia represent just the beginning of a devastating downfall that will serve as a cautionary tale about the dangers of letting compassion override legal and moral boundaries.